In the Western imagination, President Xi Jinping is often viewed as a lone autocrat, directing the vast machinery of the Chinese state. While Xi is, without a doubt, at the core, his directives are crafted and carried out by a powerful and loyalist faction within the Chinese Communist Party. To understand China's geopolitical posture, one must first comprehend the worldview of this influential inner circle of men operating behind closed doors. Gone are the days of peaceful rise and win-win cooperation. For them, the world is anarchic, turbulent, and survival depends entirely on hard power and internal stability. They set the long-term vision for a China that is increasingly prioritizing national security and sovereign autonomy and challenging the decaying Western-led rules-based order. They seek to insulate China from it and, gradually, then suddenly, overturn this international order according to Beijing's geopolitical ambitions. Little is talked about them, but behind the facade of Xi Jinping's authority, these are the unknown architects wielding the levers of power in China. Understand the strategy beyond the headlines. Support our independent geopolitical analysis by subscribing and liking the video. Know what comes next. Since establishing himself as the paramount leader of China in 2012, Xi Jinping has consolidated authority not in isolation, but through a tight circle of elite advisors and loyalists. These unseen men represent the operational brain of the Chinese Communist Party and, by default, the state. To start with, we have Cai Qi, the de facto chief of staff to President Xi, who wields influence that arguably rivals that of the premier. As head of the general office, he acts as the gatekeeper, strictly controlling physical and informational access to Xi Jinping. His power lies in his management of the information surrounding the party's top leadership, overseeing the state's censorship agenda to enforce discipline, ensuring that decisions made at the top are executed without resistance nationwide. His rapid rise signals the party's shift toward a harder stance on dissent, with a mandate to keep the apparatus responsive solely to Xi Jinping. Notably, Tsai's influence has expanded into diplomacy, evidenced by high-level meetings with foreign leaders, including Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi. This blur between party bureaucrat and state diplomat underscores that all foreign policy is now, first and foremost, a domestic party concern. Wang Huning, a top power broker who has served as the party's chief ideologue for 3 successive administrations. He is the pen behind the Xi Jinping thought and the conceptual author of the Chinese path to modernization. His role is to provide the theoretical justification for the party's continued monopoly on power. Wang Huning frames the global contest not as a trade or economic dispute, but as a civilizational struggle. He champions the narrative that Western liberalism is in terminal decline and that China offers a much superior political and governance model. His influence drives Beijing's soft power strategy across the global south, promoting the CCP slogan "Community of Common Destiny" to delegitimize the US-led rules-based order as a tool of hegemony. He's also believed to have played a key role in conceptualizing China's ambitious Belt and Road Initiative. Then we have Wang Yi. While being the foreign minister carries prestige, his true authority stems from his chairmanship of the party's Foreign Affairs Commission, a position that places him higher in the hierarchy than the standard government administration. Wang Yi has transitioned from a career diplomat to the primary executor of a much more aggressive and confrontational diplomatic style, often characterized by vocal attacks on critics to defend Beijing's interests. He is the key strategic architect of China's assertiveness on the global stage, leveraging a wolf warrior diplomatic posture to counter perceived containment strategies led by Western alliances. Li Shi, the head of the anti-corruption agency, an extremely powerful law enforcement unit. His relationship to President Xi Jinping dates back to the 1980s, and today Li Shi holds the sword that hangs over every official's head, tasked with cracking down on corruption within the party and government ranks. Li's tenure has been defined by a relentless purge of the financial sector and, crucially, China's top generals. Li ensures that the bureaucracy and the military leadership remain absolutely loyal to the party and Xi Jinping's agenda. Lifeng, deputy premier and longtime associate of Xi Jinping. He directs the office of the Central Financial and Economic Affairs Commission with a mandate to fortify the economy against external shocks. He oversees the policy of dual circulation, thus prioritizing domestic consumption and self-reliance in critical technologies. And while acting as the planner of Beijing's strategy to de-risk from the West, Lifeng has tightened state control over the private sector and channeled capital into strategic areas like AI and semiconductors. His goal is to harden China's economic structure, effectively placing it on a footing capable of withstanding potential international sanctions. Meanwhile, Chen Wenqing oversees the country's domestic security apparatus, including the police, judiciary, and prosecution agencies. His elevation to the Politburo marked the first time a former spy chief held the supreme oversight role. Chen's role is to bulletproof the regime against color revolutions. In the party's leadership's view, the boundary between external threats and internal stability has disappeared. So by tightening the party's grip over the Political and Legal Affairs Commission, Chen positions itself as the ultimate guardian that ensures that the legal and security apparatus functions as an instrument of regime stability. And under Chen Yixin, the Ministry of State Security has stepped out of the shadows. Chen Yixin's rise reflects the larger role intelligence plays in China's security during Xi Jinping's third term. As the state security chief, Chen Yixin ensures that the system is unconditionally loyal to Xi Jinping and dedicated to fortifying China against internal and external risks. He is a dedicated and loyal agent who ensures the systematic application of the central leadership's vision that survival depends on internal stability and hard power. Collectively, these bureaucrats form a synchronized apparatus that fuses ideology with economic and security hardening, ensuring the party's grip on power from Xinjiang to Beijing, from Hainan to Manchuria. And this isn't to mention other key Politburo Standing Committee members, Li Qiang, the Premier of China, Zhao Leji, and other key bureaucrats and military power brokers. China's geopolitical posture has fundamentally departed from the era of a peaceful rise, driven by a cohesive leadership that has re-engineered the state's strategic priorities. Unlike previous administrations that sought to integrate China into the global economy, Xi's inner circle views the Western-led order as a declining system that must now be challenged rather than accommodated, actively constructing a civilizational alternative to the Western liberalism. So by fusing domestic security with foreign policy and hardening the economy against external shocks, these men are positioning China as a superpower ready to overturn the status quo to suit its geopolitical priorities. China is not ruled by a single man, but by a collective leadership who shares the conviction that the world is dangerous, the West is hostile, and only a steel-hardened party can survive a coming storm. For them, China is a fortress built to withstand the anarchy of a fragmented system. In Beijing, real power is not seen on stage, but felt from behind curtains. It's just geopolitics. What's your take on the real influence this inner circle exerts on Xi Jinping? Share this report to your colleagues and consider liking and subscribing to support our independent analysis. Thanks for watching and see you next time.